This is it, episode 553, No Laugh Track podcast here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Justin Severson. I get to host this each and every week. This week, I'm not just here with one person. I thought I was going to be with three. Turns out it's two.
Yeah.
It's Tim Slagle, who has been on many times.
I am the number one guest.
Yes,
on the No
but
Laugh Track podcast,
my
right?
occasional co-host slash many time guest. He is here, as well as Greg Fideler, who I just met 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's because I grew up here, and then I left, and then I came back when it warmed up. So now I'm here again. Yeah, no, it's great to be here for. I had to come back for your Independence Day, which I understand is going to be the last one you're ever going to have.
You talked to my dad recently too? Holy cow!
I've seen some pickup trucks driving by lately with flags on them, and I'm just going to make a prediction.
So I want to know, first of all, the history of you two. You didn't just meet this week. How do you two know each other?
Well, we worked together many times before there was a such thing as a podcast. So long time ago, we actually
we met in Washington. We met out in Richland, Washington. Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah, and then we met again here.
Boy, I don't even remember that one.
You had dreadlocks.
We know that's true. We talked about that here before.
Guess what decade it was?
Yeah.
But yeah, we actually met on the road, and then
Boy, I don't.
eventually,
I'm
there's
sorry,
going
I
to be a
didn't-
time when we're both here, and then that happened,
Right.
and then
I don't. So that was.
It was doing comedy in Washington?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Was that a triple run?
Oh, who did that? I can't remember. It probably was because the Northwest. That sounds tribble-ish.
Yeah, it was either triple, might have been Fox, might have been, but I think it was probably triple.
And then we did a pilot here. We did a television show from here.
Yeah, so I was just telling Justin.
Yeah,
wonderful
talk about that a little
television
bit. It was called?
It was called the Mudslingers Ball. It was we thought that we had a great idea to do a political comedy debate show, and we turned before the cameras were here. We actually brought in a crew, and we filmed a pilot, and we actually did it up. We had music, we had makeup, we had writers, and that's what Greg.
It aired. It aired in this
aired.
market.
Was it on public television?
No, it was on one of the broadcast stations. It was one of the
KSTP?
I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think it was KSTP.
No kidding.
Yeah, and we beat. We came in number 2 behind Saturday Night Live.
They aired it on a Saturday night.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
perfect.
Saturday night during the Saturday night slot, and I forget what was on Fox at that time. Was
Chevy Chase show?
That's a tough window to thread because that was on for like 3
I think
weeks.
it was
Yeah, you're right.
I think it was
3
Mad,
weeks.
I think it was Mad TV. We beat.
That sounds 90s-ish, yeah, on Fox.
We beat Mad TV.
Probably pretty
Sure.
good, yeah.
And we did 2 episodes, and the first episode was great. The second episode we made the big mistake of the show did not look different enough, and people thought it was a rerun. So we got a bunch of people tuning in at the top of the hour, and then they quickly went away, and that was the second airing. But the first airing we had solid numbers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What was the main, what would have been debated on that show? You were the host, Tim?
No, actually, I was not the host. I was one of the comics. We had
Mike Lucas was
Mike
the host.
Lucas was the host,
Oh, okay.
and on the left we had Will Durst and Lewis Black,
Oh my goodness.
and it was just when Lewis Black was starting to break.
Okay.
So it essentially was Lewis Black and 3 guys you've never heard of.
Did he possibly use this on like a job application for Comedy Central then to get on the Daily Show?
I think he was already on the Daily Show.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just started, and we took it from here, and we did the Chicago Comedy Festival in 2000. We did a live version of it, which again was just a blast.
Awesome. Maybe it's time to bring it back again.
Boy, I don't know. It's since then you had a Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn.
Yeah, it's been done in many different forms before and since.
Yeah, it was really interesting as when we pitched it out there. We were told, oh yeah, this is very much like something we're working on already. And then all of a sudden these
When the tough crowd comes out and politically incorrect and all that jazz.
And I think there's another one called like Supreme Court of Comedy. Yeah, there was.
Yeah, it was Lewis Black actually had a show. I forget what it was called. The Root of Evil. Is that?
Oh yeah, that was a show of his.
Yeah, that was very similar in format.
Interesting.
We were sniffing around the right territory, but you know how television goes. Broadcasters buy shows from people they know, so
Sure.
they didn't. They just didn't want our version of it. There was a couple different versions kicking around, and I thought our version was the best. But you always feel that way.
Right.
KSTP was going to. They said if you want that slot, we'll give it to you. But they did not want to. They did not want to kick in the money we wanted for it. So that's. But they would have given us the slot.
Instead, it was probably like Married with Children reruns that ended up there, right? That's
Uh-huh.
probably what happened.
Yeah.
Or an infomercial
Absolutely.
where they're making money.
So yeah. So we did. We could have taken it further, but we did not.
So we should let people know it's kind of a unique situation here at Acme this week, being the 4th of July week, that three, what are they calling a showcase, I guess? 3 headliners in one night?
Yeah.
And there's also an MC working with you as well, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Andy, I can't remember his
Andy
last name.
Duong.
Yep.
Yeah.
The winner of last year's funniest person in Minnesota.
Yeah. He's maybe 2 years ago. But in any case,
2 years
very
ago?
funny
Okay.
guy. Yeah, very funny kid. So the other person is John DeBoer, who people may know from being on this podcast in the past or seeing him around town in the Twin Cities. Very funny guy who something came up and he couldn't make it today, but he should be back tonight doing the shows with you guys. Very, very funny guy.
When I left him Thursday night, he was in between 2 lovely ladies, so I have a feeling that something might have come up.
Well, yeah, that makes things okay. Well, now I wish he was here so I could follow up on this.
Well, we'll see if he shows up, and that.
He may have all new material based on what's happened in the last 24 hours. Who knows? Who knows? So,
might have been some fireworks.
yeah, there you go. Now, speaking of that, so yesterday was 4th of July, as we're recording this right now. Did you celebrate somehow? Did you go see fireworks? You're not in your hometowns necessarily where you live. So, what'd you go do?
Well, I've been coming here twice a year for 33 years. So I have lived in this town for over a year. So
Yeah, right.
Of course I got friends here.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy that said, I got a bunch of shit to blow up. Do you want to come watch it? And yeah.
Nice.
And I took an Uber out to his place, and just it was great coming out, just seeing all the rockets and flares and bursts in the air all the way, and didn't realize that's illegal in Minnesota.
Yeah, the ones that go in the air. Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything in the air?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You need a
I
permit
like,
for anything in the air.
It's what was that?
You need a permit for anything that goes up in the air.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, the ones they sell.
Where
you know,
were you? What neighborhood were you in?
where did I go?
What part of town?
Plymouth.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones they sell, if you go to Target,
What
they're
is-
what are they?
no,
They're
no.
like fountains.
I'm
so
sorry.
Yeah,
Dayton-
it's sparkle. The
Yeah.
Class C ones you can buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anything that goes up in the air. That's what they say. I call them worthwhile.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
Yeah, we were down in Savage or Sauvage, where my brother lives. Me and
Sauvage.
him and my 12-year-old son, and we were chasing fireworks shows, which 2 of them, the one that was going to be at Prior Lake, had been rescheduled because of the weather.
Sure.
But the website didn't indicate that, so we showed up there. There's nothing there, but yeah, you can look out and you can watch all the private stuff, and there was plenty of it going off.
All
So
the people
then
that drove to Wisconsin.
I don't know if it was in Wisconsin or is it North Dakota, but they were loaded last night. So then we went
Oh,
over
Wisconsin.
we went over to the casino, went over to Mystic Lake because that was scheduled for 10, but apparently that also was canceled. So we're driving around with nothing to do, and they're going off everywhere. So we turned and went behind the Midwaukenton fire station where all the people that own the casino live. That
Sure.
exclusive.
Okay.
I'd rather call it a golf community, but it's It's exclusive.
They have a lot of money.
They have a lot of money, and that was a great fireworks show. They were just, it's
I
whatever
bet.
you want to do. And I thought, I've been gone a long time, but when I grew up here, the cops would have been there in 2 minutes. And that was a great show because we're kind of lost. We're driving around in there because it's a little enclave.
Sure.
And they're going off on top of us. So then we drive out of there, and then we go back up to County Road 13, Savage. And I wanted a little Taco Bell. I want to introduce my son to Taco Bell because he grew up in Australia. They don't have that there. It's open. And over behind the Cub Foods where the daycare center is, there was a group of lovely young people setting off. They gave us a great show. We sat there
Anywhere
for
you
about half
went.
an hour. And again, just, man, I was just sitting there going, when are the cops going to show up?
So I got to know.
So we missed the fireworks, but we saw the
We saw
fireworks.
the fireworks.
We got up real close to the fireworks, so that was awesome.
Did your kid get Taco Bell?
Yes, he did.
And I saw him, so he's upright today. Survived his first bout of Taco Bell.
Yes, they don't have that in Australia. So
It's kind of funny. I have to say this is he came in Wednesday night with a sack of Whiteys. So in
You're-
1 week, his son has been exposed to Taco Bell
Oh, my
and White
goodness.
Castle.
It's
I think
the-
in his mind he thinks he's died and gone to heaven.
Oh man, I know what's left.
Yeah, he
Juicy
probably thinks
Lucy,
he's
I guess
died.
tomorrow.
well, we also did Leaning Tower Pizza and Devani's. No, Juicy Lucy, where do I take him? I mean, which side do I pick in that controversy?
I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not getting involved in that.
Blue, gray, do I go north, south?
Brandon from the back says Matt's.
Okay.
He says Matt's Bar is the place to go. By the way, I have to point out that you haven't been gone so long that you didn't stumble on Midwakin.
Well,
How do you know that?
I read, and my father's mother is Dakota. She's a Yanktonite Dakota. So
Holy
I've read
cow.
a little bit about the Dakota and the Lakota.
Look at that. Wow. Okay.
I don't. Yeah, it's my dad was the last person that qualified on the tribal.
Like
I don't
1%
qualify.
or something.
Yeah,
Point
I don't
0.1%.
or actually, my father passed away in December, and we are going to spread his ashes in Greenwood, South Dakota, on Sunday at Marty Mission Cemetery, where all his people are buried.
Oh wow. Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear he passed, but that'll be a good thing.
He had
for
a great life. He was
Yeah.
89 years old.
Okay.
It
I'm
was just
sorry
time.
to hear that you don't have enough blood to get casino money.
Yeah, that's why I'm here, folks. Yeah, unfortunately, that's where my grandmother grew up. It's Rosebud now, but back in the day, it was the Green River. It had it because it was so almost 100 years ago, of course.
Okay.
But yeah, that band does not have a casino.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I grew up with a buddy in high school. You know, we were all poor, and then a few years after, that's when Mystic Lake started making all this money. And I had a group of guys I grew up with. Suddenly, they were, now they're millionaires basically. But then I had another buddy, same deal. His family from one of those tribes, no casino. No. One family was from Mystic Lake. The other one, he had a connection to one in Wisconsin, and they were comparing the check size. Oh my goodness! The Wisconsin one that just has one place was like this big, and the Mystic Lake checks were gigantic.
Now you said tribe and you said band.
I said band.
Is it the same? Is that the same? Does that describe the same
You,
unit?
maybe
It
I
does.
misspoke. Does?
It does.
Okay.
I think there's, I think it's, some people use different terms for it, and I don't claim to know what is correct.
Not me.
No,
either.
I just
band.
curious. I didn't know if it was a different unit.
Yeah.
Well, I always hear, like, if you're in a casino or you hear an advertisement for a casino, they will say, like, the Mille Lacs Band of Chippewa.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're
Of
right.
course, it's not Chippewa, it's Ozibwa. Well,
We'll take your word for it.
The white people can't pronounce, the native words, so they changed them. Like, you renamed Lake Calhoun Parkway something that I can't pronounce.
Exactly.
So if I'm ever stuck somewhere in a tight spot on Lake Calhoun Parkway and I got to call the cops, I'm just going to sit there. I'm going to call it Lake Calhoun Parkway because that's probably a hate crime, and the mayor will show up and he'll help me.
yeah.
He'll come out and get me, and you, they can. The English-speaking people could not pronounce the native words, so they just kind of tweaked it a little bit.
Oh, that
Yeah,
makes
but
And
sense.
that's how we got most of these words.
Yeah.
That's the way it always is. I grew up south of Detroit, which is actually Detroit.
No, who says that? Do they say that now just to be fancy? Like my
What,
mom
Detroit?
says.
No,
like my mom says Target instead of Target.
It's done as a joke.
It's
but
the backwards, though, because this was settled by French. The French were very influential. Like my father's mother's grandfather is Bruno Canoyer, who came. He was big somewhere up like in Montreal, and then came down out of Canada. But there's a strong French influence. Like her, I grew up. I was told that her maiden name was Canoyer. It's like Cournoyer. But I've seen other people pronounce that name Conraye, which is French.
Sure.
So we make Target French, Target, but Detroit is probably a French word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Detroit. It means the Straits.
The Straits.
Yeah. And
La
then
Crosse, LaCroix, all this, that's all
Yeah.
French.
Oh, yeah.
There's another town in Illinois called we call it Des Plaines.
Oh,
It
yes.
sounds like tattoo.
Yes.
Actually.
Des Plaines.
But I think it's Des Plaines was the way it should have been.
I have to ask about another 4th of July thing. Did either of you watch the people gorging on hot dogs yesterday?
No, I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
I saw a clip when I was eating breakfast over at the hotel. They had a clip on. They were talking about big story. Of course, Joey Chestnut was not there.
That's right.
And they showed like 5 seconds of like the actual competition, and it's like I just kind of shoved my hotel waffle.
I was wondering if you could eat through that. Yeah.
I go, this is why do people watch that? I don't.
I never miss it.
Really?
Really. My teenage daughter actually, it got her to come out of her bedroom yesterday to sit in the living room with me and watch it, which I swear to you, I can't remember the last time she came out of her room and watched something on TV with me. I'm not even joking. Like, I can't even remember that. But that is the thing, because we've been doing it for so many years. It got her to hang out with me for 45 minutes yesterday.
This country loves sports.
It's the only time I have pride in America is that 1
so
hour.
You've been watching it every year because I've got a couple questions.
Yeah.
How do they decide who gets up there? Because it can't be like brackets, right? You can't have like all these amateurs and then the one from this group, the one from that group, because by the time you get to the end, it's going to be Joey Chestnut wins after eating one.
Yeah, right. No, I think they qualify through like earlier in the year from other.
They have qualifying rounds?
I think so.
Is it like a golf tournament maybe where you start on Thursday and you got to make the cut? Yeah, and then you go
But
Friday.
that's what I'm
and
saying.
then,
By the time you get
it would
to
have
the
to be.
finals, it's like they're both just going, oh, I can't.
Just, yeah,
I can't.
you got to train for it, which
We had the winner yesterday is from where your hometown right now these days, Chicago.
Really?
Chicago's own one.
Wow.
What's his name? Patrick Bertoletti, 58 dogs in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I don't know if you know, they had Joey Chestnut because he didn't do that one. He did his own little. He competed against some military guys.
In Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes, and he ended up doing what I wrote. I was like 58 or something like that.
So it's a tie.
50. Oh no, Joey Chestnut did 57 in 5 minutes, and the other guy did 58 in 10 minutes.
Huh.
Ridiculous.
Huh.
5
Ridiculous.
minutes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I want to go back to we were talking about
Is
fireworks.
that with a bun?
Yes. I should. You know what? I'm not stating it correctly. You're supposed to say, like on the broadcast, they always say 50 hot dogs and buns. So I was leaving that out. But you're right.
They
It
do
is
the
hot
buns
dogs
separately,
and buns.
right?
They do. They usually take the
Someone came up with that technique.
the winning
It was
the
a
normally
game changer.
the winning technique is 2 dogs at a time, chomp chomp, and then you soak. Then you quickly dip the buns in water, or one of the guys uses like fruit punch, and then gets those in. The soggy ones go down quicker, apparently. But soggy bread, to me, is like one of the grossest things in the world. That's just so disgusting.
America loves sports.
Yes, they do.
Look at the way they developed that.
And you can bet on it now, on these gambling apps that are even legal in Minnesota now.
Well,
like
now
I
wait a
won $15 yesterday betting on that this guy, last name's Esper, ate over 49.5 hot dogs, and he did.
Don't you think that's going to taint the integrity of the sport? No, because you could totally take a dive on this thing.
So it's interesting. They had a limit on the amount I could gamble. I jokingly put 200 in for my wager, and it dropped it down to 100. And I think that's wise because they are trying to limit the amount of money that goes into this because it's something that could easily be fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no ban on gambling in the competitive eating arena.
I want to go back and talk about fireworks for a moment. I want to know what's the dumbest thing either of you have ever done with fireworks and survived?
Well, we used to for a while we would pass a hat because we live I don't actually live in Chicago. I live in Indiana, so it's right across the border.
Okay.
It's a suburb of Chicago, and it's easier to describe as,
Sure.
as Chicago. And fireworks in Indiana, very strange rule is that for a while, they've changed it, is that they were legal to purchase, legal to sell, illegal to light off. So
Just collect.
you had to sign a waiver when you bought fireworks that you would take these out of state, where every state that bordered Indiana was they were still illegal, but you had to sign a waiver that you were going to take these out of state before lighting them off. And that waiver is as irrelevant as the warning on the side of a Roman candle that says "Do not hold in hand."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and then we're right across the border. We're the first city across the border from Chicago. So fireworks sales are like the major industry in the town where I live.
Yep.
So the night of 4th of July, we would pass a hat. We'd go to the fireworks store, get the closeout sales.
Oh,
and
there you go.
We would just put up an arsenal, and it would usually go well past midnight that we would still have stuff to light off.
I read 2 stories this morning about gentlemen who have passed away recently. One was just last night. The other one was earlier this year because they were lighting them off their head.
Oh, beautiful.
And then both stories also said alcohol was involved.
No.
So, yeah.
There's a video out there of somebody that tried to put a bottle rocket in his butt.
Yeah, I saw that movie. It's Jackass.
No, but this was just like an amateur, and he did it. And what happened is rather than you kind of relax. But what happened was when the flame started coming out, he clenched, and it's just very funny to watch him running around.
Yeah, an actual glass bottle that they were supposed to use doesn't close up when it's about to shoot off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, so
Oh my.
So one night we were out, and they sold these things. They're like Roman candles, but they're like twice as long and about that big around. And I have a friend. He always wanted to be a cheerleader growing up, and they didn't have male cheerleaders, so he would do a cheerleader routine with these giant.
I can picture it.
These giant sparklers. And he did it all up. He'd come out in a cape and a tiara, and we'd play Stars and Stripes Forever in the background. And then we would line up. We'd have like 12 mortars lined up behind him, and had a buddy going by lighting them all off with a propane torch, so that while he's doing this, it's going. Boo, boo, boo. He does this routine, and as he's doing this routine, a cop slowly rolls up, and he sits there, and this is about 12 o'clock, and he goes, "That was the grand finale, wasn't it?" I'm like, "Oh no, we got a lot more." He goes, "That was the grand finale."
I don't think you understand. That was the grand finale.
That sounds like a great show.
Yeah, I'm guessing. How long ago was this? Was there possibly a dash cam in that cop's car? Because he's sharing that with all the guys back at the shop. No doubt about
Did he
it.
let you go? Because if you put that much thought into it, I mean, choreography.
Oh no, he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the show.
See,
he definitely enjoyed the show. He just they had gotten a few calls, I think, from the neighbors by that point.
Yeah.
And he was just told that he had to go shut it down.
Yeah, people used to get along, you know?
Well, so living in Australia, you're obviously not celebrating the 4th of July. At least I don't think you are.
It's just, there, I think it's known as Friday.
Yes. Is there so when are fireworks lit off in Australia? New Year's
Eve off.
I know I've seen that on
Harbour
TV.
Bridge
Yeah.
in Sydney, Australians love fireworks. Just about any excuse they can think of, but you can't really buy them. That's not really a thing. We like watching other people blow them off. And then, of course, Australia Day itself, which is the day that Australia celebrates It's unclear. The day that the first fleet
What?
arrived.
Kind of like Juneteenth.
First thing that popped into my head, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, it's controversial now because I don't get it though. It's look, it's got to be someday. What happened. No matter what day it is, it's uncomfortable and awkward, and that's what day it is. So changing the day is not going to change anything.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they love fireworks, and just about any excuse they can have for them. There's actually a video. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can see my son when he's like 4. Yeah, when he's 4, and his cousin Ben, who is also 4, dancing on the steps of, ironically enough, the Australian Immigration Museum in Melbourne, because it's across the street from Crown Casino. And on the Chinese Lunar New Year, the casino puts up a big, huge thing, and you can watch 2 4-year-olds dance to fireworks. And just take my word for it, it's hilarious.
The YouTube's what is the YouTube page? Just your name?
Shit, I don't know, because it's just a private YouTube. I don't think it's private, but because it's got like 100 views. I do not remember the name of how to get there. Google like Melbourne kid dancing fireworks.
There can't be too
It'll
many.
come up. Yeah,
There can't be too many.
I have to point out, because we were talking about how towns are pronounced by whoever, and that he's actually putting the R in Melbourne for us.
I'm hanging on to that.
That's one of those that has come up over the years in my notes when I'm talking to a guest, and I don't want to say it because it's going to sound wrong. Melbourne, or it's just not going to sound right.
Yeah.
It's not going to sound like I'm trying to do something.
I have that problem with New Orleans.
Yes.
I cannot say.
Nolans?
I try to say Nolans, but I've had locals go, no. Close. It's a nice try.
Can you tell, Greg, when somebody's doing a fake Australian accent?
No, I do not. I cannot recognize an Australian accent.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I go there and people talk, and I don't know. It's all it's all Paul Hogan to me. That's because there's a little country that's right next to Australia called New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's their Canada. It's small. It's smaller. It's colder, and it's a little bit smarter. And people from New Zealand, we call them Kiwis, move to Australia, like if the way that people would come from Canada down here, like if they wanted to do stand-up or be in the entertainment business.
Sure.
And it's the Kiwi accent is distinct. It's Flight of the Conchords. It's distinctively different. I can't tell. To me, it's like the difference between Tennessee and Kentucky, which I would not recognize.
Oh, sure,
You know,
sure.
that kind of thing. But Australia is filled with accents because, of course, everyone came over from the UK, and I think the majority, as far as I can tell, were Irish and Scottish. So, like, you walk around, and the immigration continues until today. Like, you'll be sitting at a table, and I don't know, it's like sounds like a fairy tale or something, because one of them is like the Lucky Charms guy, and then the other one is the guy on the Pink Floyd album that tells you to eat your pudding, and then you got these, Flight of the Conchords people going off. So, but I was married to an Australian for like 11 years. I cannot tell.
That's wild.
I cannot decipher the accents.
So the other day I was working. I told you that I have a job selling beers, going up down the stairs, sporting events around town. I was working one of the events, and
Can you hook me up?
You got it, buddy. You show up this weekend at a St. Paul Saints game. You're getting.
Oh, I
hooked
just
up.
want the beer.
Yep. Oh. The problem is you'll have to come Sunday because they're going at the same time as your shows here. So.
Oh, what time are they playing?
In the evening.
Cool.
Not Sunday. Sunday afternoon, 2:00, noon, 2:00, something like that. Stop on over. There was a woman that came up to buy for me the other night, and she's like, so I want to know, like, I'm murdering this, but she's like, what kind of seltzers do you have? And I'm like, in my head immediately, I'm like, why is this lady doing this accent? Like, this is so awkward. I used to go to a McDonald's in Woodbury, and there was a kid that would work the drive-thru and clearly used a fake accent just to, entertain himself, I'm sure. And for a long time, I would just, roll my eyes and go, yeah, play along. So it was last night. Yeah, I thought this woman was doing the same thing to me. And then I asked her for her ID, and she pulls out a passport, and it's her freaking British passport. She was really from there. I was absolutely convinced this lady was pulling my leg. I was absolutely convinced. So, could you tell?
I can hear Australian.
Yeah.
I can definitely hear Australia. It was, I actually, I met a girl in Chicago, and she was working as a nanny for a wealthy couple on the Gold Coast, and she'd hang out at the same bar I was in. Very Australian. And I was talking to her. I said, "Well, how'd you get this job?" And she goes, "Well, I was in London. I was, was hanging out in London, and I met them, and they brought me here." I go, "They don't know you're Australian, do they?" She goes, "Well, it never came up." And like, "Oh, they think they got a British nanny." Yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire, yeah.
Nah. And I said, no, they think they got a British nanny. They have no idea they got a friggin' Australian.
They think they got Mary Poppins.
Yeah, exactly. She got that bloody Mary Poppins. and I was talking to her like a few weeks later. She goes, they approached me today. They wanted they want me to teach a kid how to use proper silverware. Like, oh man, yeah. I don't know how to do tea. I know how to teach them how to finish their beer.
Is the love affair with beer stronger in Australia or the United States? What do you think?
I'm gonna say it's probably about equal. It's hard to say. I stopped drinking beer a long time ago. I think I stopped drinking beer when I moved to California and I started drinking wine. Australians, they love beer, but they also love wine. There's a lot of great wine that comes out of Australia. But,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I like white wine. The best white wine comes from New Zealand, from the Marlborough region.
Okay.
So yeah, they love wine, they really do. But yeah, there's a Australian stereotype. It's called a bogan. It would be similar to a redneck. It's a guy in what they call a onesie, but what we would call a wife beater. And he sits in front of the telly all day. He watches the footy, and he drinks stubbies of Carlton Draft. So they really do love their beer. And just kind of like, because I work in comedy clubs. I run comedy shows, and I worked with a caterer at one of them. They go through a lot of Great Northern, which is just the cheapest beer that they have.
Interesting.
So, man, they really like their beer, but I don't pay attention to it because I just stopped drinking beer.
Okay. So how much comedy are you doing in Australia then?
Well, I do the stand-up, which is much different there. The scene is just different. Like, they don't have a comedy club like this. It's based on the Edinburgh Festival system, so you get somebody that's got some modicum of fame. You get a face that can sell, and you put up a poster, and you say, you go down to the bowling club on March 30th, and you can see Nick Cody for $30.
Okay.
And they'll rock up and, pay $30 to see Nick Cody, and then I'll put, a couple of support acts up in front of them. And then you might not do another show for a month. And the bowling club might not ever do another show. So it's not like this where it just keeps going and going, and you can go down and start at a comedy club and start as an MC and then get to be a middle and then get to be a headliner. You want to headline there, you got to be able to sell tickets, which means you got to somehow get famous, which we're kind of right now on the cusp of, like, all the famous stand-ups got famous through television, which means back when people still watch television, which means they're a little bit older. So the audiences tend to be a little bit older. The kids are watching the TikTok. They do go down to the CBD, and there are some places that kind of do the same thing, but they'll do like showcase shows where everybody does like 8 comics and they're each doing like 12 minutes.
Okay.
And I don't know what's in the middle of those two things, seriously. And I've been there for 7 years now. It's a very difficult system. So yeah, I produce shows. I do stand up. The audience is there. Well, it's such a different thing because you'll go down. It's just like you'll go to a pub and okay, I'm going to produce a show with Dave Hughes. He's like the most famous Australian comic there is. So I got to reconfigure the pub to do a show. So what I do is I fucking take all the tables out of there and I just put them in theater style, shoulder to shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do shows like that, you get a great audience response. You get the biggest laughs. You put it in a room, like you can control that part of it. The audiences are great. They love to participate. you kind of get addicted to that. And then you come back here, and they're a little more spread out. And, places like the Improv, they might be eating a bowl of pasta while you're on stage,
Yeah.
and so you're competing with that.
Right.
So it's they're more attentive. So some of it is more fun. But what's been fun for me is, I wrote for a lot of different shows.
Yeah.
And I always was just like writing about stuff in the news. So I was writing every day, and so my stand-up tended to be kind of not like current stuff, but I always talked about other stuff in the news.
Mm-hmm.
So then I get to Australia, and I split up with my son's mother, and now I'm on the other side of the world, and like some stuff happened to me. I started talking about myself in my stand-up, which was a completely new thing for me. I hated to do it, but I forced myself to do it, and it's definitely funner. For me, it's funner, and then you get to deal with now. There's some prejudice. America is not what it was in the eyes of the rest of the world these days, and I know because I married a woman from Australia, and I would visit once a year since 2007, and people used to come up to me and oh wow, you're from America, oh that's so cool, that's so cool. And it was about 2016, about 2017, people start going, hey, what's going on over there? And now it's just like, oh, you're an American. Oh, okay. And well, you can tell. But I think if you want to get to know a culture, go to a comedy show and see what comedians are making fun of, and you will very quickly.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of get right to the heart of their perceptions of the world. And
Yeah, I can absolutely see that.
So yeah, it's a little bit tough.
Well, that's really interesting. I looked at the time. We got to wrap this up here. I don't want to leave without Tim mentioning coming up later this year, Crash and Burn.
Well, I got two things. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here last week of August. I'm going to be here Labor Day weekend. Just me.
The headlining week.
Yeah.
Slagle headlining week.
I will be headlining here.
Perfect.
That week. So I'll be doing more than a showcase set. That'll be. I don't have the dates on that. I do know the dates of Crash and Burn.
Yes, sir.
As we can announce it, Crash and Burn this year will be October 8th through the 12th.
Okay.
Of regular listeners are probably quite familiar with the format. For those who aren't, I invite 3 other comics to write a brand new 20 minutes each in the course of a week.
Yep, and you have not announced the participants as of yet.
We're still haggling.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure. Until we get all 3 comics locked in, I don't want to announce.
Yep. Fair enough. Looking forward to that every year, of course. So
yeah.
Mark that down. Is there anything else we should be mentioning? Wait, there's 4 more shows this weekend here at Acme. We're going to get this posted as soon as possible.
Cool.
So hopefully people listen to this and are looking for something to do. Come out here and see you guys along with John DeBoer doing the showcase sets here at Acme. Anything else?
No, it's a packed show. It's honestly more comedy than most people can handle. So come on down and
there you go.
Let's get it on, man. It's happy birthday, America.
Damn right. I wish we had more time. I would love to delve into more about the Australia stuff and your career
we've just
and all that.
begun delving. Yeah.
We've just begun delving. So don't be a stranger. Come back somehow.
Thank you so much.
And
Justin.
let's do this again.
Thank you.
For sure. Thank you, Tim. I'll
see you in August.
See you in August. Thanks, guys.